He reached the tree's location, shouting at it before beginning to cut it down. By the time Sandra and Mama arrived where Mr. Bright was, he had already sunk his machete into the tree. After a few minutes of chopping, Mr. Bright's hand started to tremble. He adjusted his grip and kept cutting, but soon his hand shook violently, causing the machete to fall. Mr. Bright stared at his trembling hands, sweat dripping from his face onto the ground, his legs trembling as he breathed heavily. He glanced at his wife and mother, who were watching him, then collapsed. "Oh my God, I'm finished," Sandra screamed, rushing towards her husband with Miriam. Mr. Bright lay on the ground, shaking with wide-open eyes, staring at his wife. Sandra cried bitterly, tears streaming down her cheeks. "Don't do this to me. Please stand up. You're scaring me," she pleaded, trying to lift him with Mama's help, but they couldn't. Mama ran out and asked some passing men for help. Seeing Mr. Bright's condition, they quickly carried him to Mama's house, laying him on an old bed inside a room. Mama thanked them, and they left, puzzled by Mr. Bright's state. Sandra sat beside her husband on the bed, tears streaming down her cheeks. "We came here for a solution, because of Naomi. Why didn't you listen to Mama? I hope we will see our princess again. I don't want to think about it. Just get up, let's find a solution together," she said, crying. Mr. Bright lay motionless, unable to speak or move, tears rolling down his face. Mama cried too, remembering the faceless man she thought was long gone. She didn't know how her husband discovered the tree's powers. She was clueless about how to appease the tree for her son's actions. "Mama, what should we do? I don't want to lose my husband," Sandra sobbed. "I don't know any native doctor as strong as the faceless man. We need a pastor to pray against this deity my husband invoked," Mama suggested. "Tell me the nearest church. I need to go immediately." "I don't want him to die," Sandra cried. Mama directed her to a nearby church, and Sandra ran there, meeting the senior pastor inside. She fell at his feet, explaining briefly about her husband's condition after cutting down the tree. The pastor reassured her, but mentioned a fee for deliverance and consultation. Desperate, Sandra paid, and the pastor called 2 others to accompany him to Mr. Bright's house. Seeing Mr. Bright's state, the pastor asked to be taken to the evil tree. Sandra led them there. The pastor prayed and picked up the machete. Filled with fear but summoning courage, he made a cut on the tree. Nothing happened to him, so he grew bolder. "This tree must come down," he declared joyfully, echoed by his fellow pastors. He made a deeper cut, shouting, "My leg, my leg." Blood soaked his trousers as he fell, crying in pain. The other pastors hesitated to help him as a strange wind blew and the weather darkened. A faceless man emerged from the tree. The pastors fled, leaving the senior pastor behind. Sandra, terrified but desperate to save her husband and find her daughter, knelt before the being. "Please forgive my husband. We didn't know we were supposed to dedicate our daughter to you. Please bring back my daughter and heal my husband. I'll dedicate her to you. I promise," she pleaded. "Blood, only the blood of an innocent child can appease me, or he dies and the child never returns," the voice echoed. The faceless being retreated into the tree, and the weather cleared. Sandra found the pastor dead from blood loss and ran home in tears, telling Mama about the demand for innocent blood. "What about the pastor?" Mama asked. "He's dead," Sandra cried. Mama lamented, wishing her husband had let go of the land years ago. Sandra hugged her husband, refusing to lose him. "Mama, do you know any strong witch doctor?" "I can't stain my hands with innocent blood," Sandra asked. Mama remembered hearing about a powerful witch doctor. She set off to find him, leaving Sandra with Mr. Bright, who regretted his hasty actions but couldn't move or speak. Sandra wept beside him, hoping for the best. Hours later, Mama returned with the witch doctor. They laid Mr. Bright outside, and the witch doctor began incantations, placing a bone on Mr. Bright's forehead. A strange wind lifted the witch doctor, dropping him hard. He fled, leaving Sandra pleading with the faceless being for mercy. Mr. Bright shook violently, coughing blood. Sandra asked for a Bible, placing it on her husband's chest, and prayed desperately. The whistling and whispers returned louder, and Mr. Bright's heart stopped. Sandra, frozen in grief, cried out to God. Suddenly, Mr. Bright took a deep breath and opened his eyes, filling Sandra and Mama with joy. Mr. David and Tina, feeling guilty for keeping Naomi, decided to seek their pastor's counsel. During a powerful church service, they felt compelled to return Naomi. The next day, they set off with their pastor. Near the city, a lorry almost collided with them, but they miraculously avoided it. At the hospital where Naomi had been taken, they couldn't find her parents' contact. A nurse directed them to Naomi's school, where they learned her parents had gone to the village seeking a solution. In the village, Mr. David found Sandra struggling to feed Mr. Bright. Sandra's joy was boundless when she saw Naomi. As they reunited, the faceless being's presence was felt again. Pastor Jude, praying and anointing the area, faced the faceless man, who weakened and disappeared as the tree was cut down. Mr. Bright recovered, and Naomi's memory returned. Pastor Jude advised the family to forsake idolatry. Mr. David and Mr. Bright's families became close friends. Mr. Bright, having lost his job, was helped by Mr. David to find a better one. Both families were blessed with more children, and they celebrated together, grateful for their restored lives. The moral of the story emphasizes the consequences of greed and the importance of relying on God's power overall. Thank you for watching. Please subscribe, like, comment, and share if you enjoyed this story. God bless you.